Hello and welcome to Cedar Creek Homestead for another episode of Porch Talk. I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I've got a new little tripod here, and I've been asked to do a Amazon review on it, and I will as soon as I give it a try. You know, a lot of times before you even get the package, they want you to give a review, and if it turns out right, I'll even show it here. But right now my GoPro camera is setting on a I think it's called a telestick, something like that. It's a little handheld deal you can film with. It also has feet on the bottom that come out real handily, and you can make it into a tripod. So I did that today. The wind's blowing, and the thing's a little bit flimsy for wind. It's lightweight, not made to be, but it'd be handy if you was out like hiking or that kind of stuff I do. I don't go out hiking, but here on the farm and stuff, when I need a tripod, I could use it to hold my camera or put it in a tripod mode. So anyway, we'll see how this works. I hope it's not too windy and knocking it everywhere today. Excuse me, I keep trying new things all the time, and just part of it. And been emailed, asked to do some reviews, product reviews, so we'll see how that goes. We'll try to do a few of those. But today's Porch Talk, I want to talk about something that is, to me, really important in life. What do you do when you get your feet knocked out from under you? And used to playing basketball or sports when I was growing up. I never was big into sports, but we did play some. You would have, some of them would learn how to trip you and get your feet knocked out from under you. And when you fell to the ground, the basketball would come out of your hand. Well, it'd make me mad. And, you know, a time or two I thought about just quitting. But I'd get right back in there, and guess what? I'd try to trip them up, which wasn't the Christian thing to do. But when you get knocked down, you get your feet knocked out from under you, do you just get back up and keep trying, or do you give up? Sadly, a lot of folks give up, and we know of a lady that is just pretty much given up, and she's having all kinds of health issues. I feel for her. But some of her family said, we ought to see her when she goes to the casinos. She does really well. And a lot of people just give up. And I've had that with cattle. If you ever have a cow get down on you, it won't get back up. Before long, the cow's going to die. If they ever stop eating and drinking especially. I had an old cow get down a few years ago, and I would take the tractor and lift her back up. And I'd bring her food and water, put out there for her, and she'd stretch her neck out, reaching the food and the water every day. And I'd do it morning and evening. I'd have a lift thing you put on your tractor that'll raise them up by the hips, and let her stand up, and she could stand. But as soon as I took that off of her, she'd kind of waller around and fall right back down on the ground. So finally, after a couple of weeks of doing this, I was like, well, she looks healthy. I don't see any reason she can't stand on her own, but she don't want to. So I slid her food and water over. Went and fed her one morning. I slid it out far enough that she would have to stand up. I'm like, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to make her get up. That evening when I come home, guess what happened? She was up over there eating. But you got to get your mind made up. Now, she could have laid there and died, or she could get up. And you got to do something. People can't do it for you. If you're going to be successful in life, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to work. Some say that the only time that if you're going to make it, you're going to have to work. Some folks, life will give them lemons, and they make it into lemonade. And then you have other folks that you could give them lemons, and they just turn into a sourpuss. What are you? Are you someone that's going to take what life gives you, turn it in for better? I believe as a Christian that all things are going to work to my glory. to the glory because of the Lord. All things work to the good of them who love the Lord, who are called according to His purpose. And I believe God has called me, anointed me, and blessed me. He's keeping me right now, and I believe God's going to keep me till I leave this place. So I believe everything's going to work out. Does that mean I don't go through hard times? Absolutely not. I've had hard times. I used to when I was a young Christian. Sometimes preachers would preach like if you come to know Jesus, why, you would never have no more problems. And that absolutely is not true. You still have your problems. The Bible says it rains upon the just and upon the unjust. But one thing I can say is with Jesus and your faith placed in Him, you know that He's going to be your burden bearer. He's going to help you through all of your troubles and your trials. But I have been, one of my biggest videos was I put a video on, is there a food shortage? And because I didn't get on the bandwagon with everybody else, I got criticized. And I've been criticized. That video was one of my best videos, but a lot of people liked it. A lot of people hated it. It's been, as far as what I mean best video, the most viewed videos. I don't think any of my videos are that good, but they're most viewed videos. And so all I was trying to do was tell people, you know, I think you ought to have some food, water, supplies put back all the time for whatever, being ready for anything, anytime, any place. Be ready for it the best you can. Can you be ready for everything? Absolutely not. Does that mean you don't have to, you can get prepared so much that you don't need friends, you don't need the Lord, you don't need anybody? No. Everybody needs somebody. And I certainly need the Lord, and I certainly need friends and neighbors and people. But being somewhat self-reliant, when those folks don't show up, God's always going to be there. But when people don't show up, or when things get bad, and just example, maybe this plague, if you were to, you know, be approached with that, what would you do? I think everybody can be prepared, even if you're in a apartment complex. You can do something. Surely you can do something. But I know a lot of folks choose to sit back and not do anything. A lot of folks think they're just going to trust in the government. And I think we have the best government on planet Earth. The best country on planet Earth. Now, I may be prideful in that, but I believe we do. We've got a good thing going here. My foreign folks that watch, I apologize. Maybe you think your country is the best, and you should. You should be patriotic about your country. And I am about ours. I am patriotic about this here United States of America. I'm proud of where I am. I'm proud of the freedoms we have. I'm proud to be born and raised here. Is there things sometimes that we could do better? You betcha. Is our country perfect? Absolutely not. But this is the thing. Some got after me because I didn't get on the bandwagon. You know, some are preaching global warming. And I have to admit, don't get mad at me, but it is warmer in the winters than it used to be. I happen to believe that it is warmer, that we are going through cycles. If you cut a tree down here, there are rings in that tree. And the scientists, people that study that part of it, some say, well, you don't believe in science. Yes, I do, because scientists will tell you them rings, based on the distance of those rings, it sometimes was, some were caused because of possible fires, some were caused for drought, some were caused for wet times, some were caused for cold times, some were caused by hot times, but they can tell by the rings of an old tree. So if you have a tree that gets cut down that's 100-year-old or more, you get 100 years of history of the weather on those rings of a tree. There are other things that scientists, they've been keeping records now for over 100 years. There are times that we have a record low. There are times we have a record high. I believe we're going through a cycle. I think we're going through a hot cycle right now. If we are not going through a hot cycle, I don't really believe this earth's warming up by man-made disaster, because if man can do that, and man does pollute the environment, no doubt. But if you can do that, then man can do anything, and man cannot do anything. God can. And if it is heating up, that this is the end of it all, it's because God's heating it up, and it's going to be end based upon the Word of God. Now, if you're doom and gloomist, you say, well, that's just horrible and bad. I don't worry about that, because if I die, if I get this plague, that's going around. You know, we ain't supposed to say that word. But if you get the plague and you die, I'm going to keep on living anyway, so what? But I do believe God gives us common sense and wisdom to do some things. And when we get our feet knocked out from under us, we get back up. Some channels that I watch, some actually, what keeps them going, motivated, and doing well is negative. And some people feed off of negative stuff. If you're one of them, it's a bad way to be, because negativity, constant negativity, will lead to stress. And stress is a killer. I have read that they believe stress in the United States is the #1 killer, that it leads to heart disease, even leads to like high blood pressure, which leads to heart disease. Stress, they even believe, is linked to cancers. So live a stress-free life. Don't get caught up in all this. Some people have started quitting watching the news because the news is all negative. And when I watch YouTube, I have some channels I'm subscribed to that I watch regularly. And if they're being a negative Nancy for the day, and by the way, none of them are named Nancy as far as I know. If you are, I apologize. But if they're being a negative Nancy, I just turn them off. I'm like, hey, I ain't got time for that baloney. You know, some believe that everything that's happening is negative. If you get stopped by the police for speeding, you're doing 80 miles an hour in a 55 mile per hour zone, that is some kind of conspiracy of the government. If a jet airplane comes over your farm and it puts out the trail, that it leaves a vapor trail is what it's called, and it changes based upon the moisture in the air and the conditions in the atmosphere. Sometimes airplanes come over that don't leave it, but some believe that's killing them. If you believe everything's killing you and out to get you, I feel for you. But I'm not getting in that bandwagon. And if there is something out that could harm me, I'm going to do the best I can right here to correct the situation, to be prepared. If we were going to run out of food, and I don't think we are right now, but if we were, you know what I would do? I'd start learning to garden in Canada. We already do that stuff anyway, but I'd start preparing. We're already doing those things, so we ain't worried if the food runs out. You know, the stores, what would happen if our stores closed down? Do you know we've had our local grocery store? It's a pretty good journey from here to getting. We've had it closed down before, our local grocery store, because they didn't have electricity. They can't even ring you up at the store, so they won't sell to you. One thing too, back in the spring, last spring of 2019, we had these floods here, and almost every direction out of here was flooded and blocked. You go to the north, but you would have had to went a very long ways, and my concern was if you went that far, what would happen if you couldn't get back home? So we just stayed in place right here. But we had enough food and stuff that should our local store close down during that time, or couldn't get supplies, we could have made it for a while. So just working, doing what you can, instead of just sitting back getting sick over it and saying, oh, it's all the government's fault, oh, it's the Trump's fault, oh, it's the Democrats' fault, it's Nancy Pelosi's fault. If you do it, shame on you. It's your fault. You can handle your situation. I realize there are things that's beyond your control. And I'm going to tell you, Trump cannot handle the coronavirus. Neither can Nancy Pelosi. Neither can Chuck Schumer. Neither can Joe Biden. Those people are not in control of the viruses. They're not in control of the weather. And I'll just tell you, as far as our weather here, we've had a warmer than normal winter here. We started out early in October with kind of a cool down, which is the way it used to would have been 30 years ago. Then it warmed back up. We've had a pretty good, the lowest temperature we've had here, and this is Oklahoma. I can't talk about everybody else's area. We have not ran out of food here. We have not had a major cool down here. We have had above average rainfall. If anything, we've had more rain. And we've had years in my childhood, the last 50 years, right here on this piece of property, there have been times of abundant rain and there's been times of drought. And right now we have been going through the past 12 months in an abundant amount of rain. And I'm thankful for that. The rain's good. It flushes things out. It flushes your lakes and your streams. flushes your ponds. I believe God's got a purpose for the heavy rains, and He's got a purpose for the droughts. I wished it was always perfect. You know, one farmer around here said they wished it wouldn't rain because they can control the rain by their pivot irrigation. But what about us that can't? I believe leave it in God's hands. I believe He can take care of it. But you can get all negative. You can get all down. You can let life get you down. Can I say I never get down? No. I wished I could say that. There are times that sometimes I get down and I don't even know why I'm down. I'm like, well, what have I got to be negative about? What I got to be depressed about? And when those things begin to happen, that's when I'll just give you the remedy I do. I like gospel music, and I'll turn on some good gospel singing. I like the old-time Southern gospel songs like McCamey's and Bruder's and people like that. And the Kingsman and people, Charles Johnson and the Revivers. I'll turn on some of that stuff, and I tell you, it gets me lifted up. And, you know, whatever it takes, some people got to go get drunk or get high or something. I don't have to do that. I can just turn on some good old gospel music. I have a good time in that. I can pray, and I'll get over it. But I don't want to stay down in the molly grubs. I don't want to stay down negative. If life gives me a bowl of lemons, I want to be one that will turn it into lemonade. I sure don't want to turn it into a sourpuss. And if you allow things, and you look at the political situation, political landscape, all the fussing and bickering, and then the plague that's going on, and the financial deal. A lot of folks, you know, have been selling out their stocks and losing money because everything's going down, down, down. And it's going to come back up. But folks have been selling out, which causes more panic and more people to sell. And in the process, they lose money, or if they just hang on a little while, it's going to come back. My cattle, I was debating on whether to sell them. I had about 15 head of calves that I wanted to sell, an old cow and 14 steers. So I was debating about selling them one weekend, and I said, well, I'll just hang on to them. It was dry, too, here where we could actually get into the lot out here to load them up. So I said, well, what am I going to do? So I waited, didn't sell them that weekend, and one thing was the price had went down. So I said, well, I'll just wait because I know selling them on a Saturday, they're going off of this past week's performance here. Most sale barns around here go off of what Oklahoma City's sell barn prices are, and we're always under that some. So if they come down, we're going to be down here locally. 15 head is not worth driving to Oklahoma City and selling, even if you got extra 5 or 10 cents a pound, it's not worth it. But I said, I'm just going to hang on to them. Well, on Monday, I called a local sell barn here, and I asked if they would, a guy had told me that they'll actually come and haul your cattle for you. So I called him and said, would you come and haul my cattle? And he said, yeah. He said, how many heads you got? And I said, 15. He said, well, I'll be down there Tuesday, and I'll get them. The sales on Wednesdays. So he come on Tuesday and got them. Well, that day, the futures market and cattle kind of went down, and local markets, like on Monday, was kind of down and up. It's just a big roller coaster. So mine sold on Wednesday. I didn't get record prices or nothing, but I got good prices. After that, the prices have been coming back down around here, and it's been, people still going to have to eat, so I don't understand that part. But I was like, I could use a little extra money right now, and they're big and ready to go. And actually, they averaged, I'm going to have do a video and show you my check stub, and we're going to discuss that on a video here, kind of a cattle talk type video. If you're into cattle, be looking for that. I know some of you's more in just a homesteading and prepping and stuff like that, so and just like the talks, but I'm going to try to do a little talk on the cattle. But anyway, they averaged, I believe it was around $1.80 a pound for them, so I was pretty pleased with that. Now, not disappointed at all. I was tickled to get what I got, and I had kind of made a goal of what I was hoping to get, and I actually got it. So if I'd got more, I'd have been even happier, but you know, hey, I'm taking it, I'm thankful. But anyway, I think I sold them just at the right time. I'd also prayed about it, and I said, Lord, help me that I'd get the best price for now. And I also thought, well, if I hang on to these things, they're getting bigger and bigger. I feed them a little bit every day, not a whole lot, but I feed them a little grain, and it's things are starting to green up here, but I'd rather have the pasture for my cows. So I said, if I sell them right now, would be great. And if something happened that the plague got worse and we couldn't sell them, you know, I'd be stuck with them perhaps all summer long. And, you know, you just don't know. And I thought, hey, I got them ready. I've got about 50, actually got 13 more, some more that I could sell that are heifers. But I want to keep them for replacements. But if things got where I needed to, I could always sell those heifers. But anyway, the Lord always blesses. It always works out, and I'm so thankful. And I'm not going to get into the negatives, even though there's negatives around us. Let me tell you, there is negativity around. There's stuff that's concerning, I should say, that could cause me to be a negative person. But I want to stay positive in this, and I believe if you'll stay positive, you'll feel better. You'll be happier. If there is a problem, figure out a way to solve it. And some problems that I've had in life, I did not find the answer just overnight. Sometimes it took a spell to figure it out. But I've always, with God's help, I have always been able to overcome every obstacle in life. And I know you can too. Hey, I sure appreciate you watching us here at Cedar Creek Homestead. If you're not a subscriber, we'd appreciate you subscribing. Share the video if you would like to. I want to thank all of you new subscribers that have subscribed just recently. I think in the last month I've had about 40 new people. I know we're just small potatoes, just little old nothing here, but hey, I'm thankful and for you that are watching and those that's been commenting. And I know some, like I mentioned, they like the cattle videos more. Some like the porch talk videos more. And so here you kind of get a variety. Surely there'll be something that people would like. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, well, that's what the thumbs down is. And nobody's perfect, and that sure includes me. Hey, I appreciate you today, and I hope you have a blessed day. And we'll see you next week here on Porch Talk. And we're gone.